clothing and products for this recording is provided by Proper, Right to the Core, Walther Arms, giving you the most powerful deal on the planet, Venture Gear Tactical, whatever your mission, they protect your eyes and ears, The Gun Cleaners, increased safety, improved accuracy, and firearm longevity, Primary Arms, be on target. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the M-W Tactical channel. My name is Michael Woodland, and today we're going to have a talk with Bill Rogers from the Rogers Shooting School. What's up, good people? I'm here with someone I consider a living legend. A lot of y'all carry your handguns on you every day and don't realize this is the man who started the pathway for gun safety as we know it today. If you haven't known him, I would suggest you look him up by the name of Bill Rogers. There might be more than one out there, but if anything, just look up Bill Rogers Shooting School, and that's all the explanation that you will need. So for today, I want to introduce Mr. Bill Rogers of Rogers Shooting School. How you doing today, Mr. Bill?
Doing great, Mike. How about you?
I'm doing great, especially after doing your class, but I would have done better.
Not an easy class, that's for sure.
Hey, that's a very true statement right there. Very true statement. So I want to go ahead and start it off by asking, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself, how you actually got started in shooting, and how the Bill Rogers Shooting School came about?
Mike, I started shooting when I was a youngster, probably 5 or 6 years old. Came from a family that, like on Sunday, a lot of people play horseshoes. We went out and shot. Lived out in the country. My father was a colonel in the Air Force and retired at that time, but he'd been on the Air Force skeet team. And so he was a bird hunter, and we grew up bird hunting. And since he was a skeet shooter, we never really got involved in shooting paper targets or stationary targets. We were always just interested in shooting things that moved. Around our area, we had 55 acres of grove behind us and huge lakes in front of us. And so just about everything we did, we were trying to guard the groves from raccoons and rats and possums, and then we're bird hunting, and then we're shooting gar in the water at night in a boat. So all of those things brought my attention and my brothers as well, is that we tried to practice drills that we would use in real life. And so we recreated moving targets, and we actually built a trap range and made our own clay targets and all of those things. But it was all concentrated around shooting moving targets. So by the time I was 14, I was a state trap shooter champion, and had some trophies in shooting skeet. And so I migrated when I went to college. I began to shoot. Sorry, get rid of that one. I began to shoot competition in trap and skeet shooting. But in any case, I wound up by going into the FBI, and as an FBI agent, I was at first I was not accustomed to shooting cardboard targets at all, because we didn't have access to cardboard targets when I was growing up. That was just something we didn't shoot. And so it astonished me at the level of instruction, is that the difficulty in getting the instant feedback and so forth from shooting cardboard is much different than shooting a clay target or shooting something that actually moves or destructs when you hit it. And so as I went through the FBI, I obviously I could shoot very well. I shot a possible right off the bat, and I was recognized as a pretty strong shooter. When I left the Bureau several years later, in because I designed a holster and had gotten a patent and so forth, and the Bureau was my first customer, I began, as I began to try to market my holsters, I began to kind of demonstrate shooting. And that was just one of the ways that I broke into the departments and tried to sell my holsters, was actually doing demos with shooting. And that led on to one thing after another, till finally I had some departments say, hey, would you be interested in trying to teach some of our guys how to shoot? And that's what started the Rogers Shooting School. And that was back in the early 1970s. And I recognized that the way I had learned how to shoot was by shooting things that moved and shooting things that reacted. And so for that reason, I designed a series of targets that were made out of steel that would knock over. And then I proceeded to make those targets move so that I could expose those targets quickly and take them away quickly. Because I recognized the way that I learned how to shoot trap skeet and moving targets was that the targets got to go away, and they've got to go quickly. So you've got to learn how to deal with them in the time that they're available to you. And you have to learn how to lead targets that are moving quickly and so forth. And so those are all the things that I didn't see in the normal way that instruction was being carried on for handgun instruction across the board. It didn't matter whether it was a police department or law enforcement or military. So I then designed these targets. And at first I motorized them, but then I recognized quickly that air operation is the quicker way to do it and the cleaner way to do it. You don't have to have a lot of electricity and so forth. So I began to design targets that moved on tracks, and they would move horizontal, they would move vertical. I even had moving targets that worked off of cables, and they were all steel targets. And learned that if we painted them white, we could recognize the hits, but also it was important for that target to actually react. It actually had to knock over. So I designed those target systems and so forth so that, number one, we could control their exposure time up to sub-seconds. And at the same time, when the shooter hit the target, he could see instantly. He could, he could feel it, he could hear it, he could see it. And it was that feedback that helps train the subconscious mind how to deal with it. And so that was the start of the Rogers Shooting School. And the military heard about it, and quickly I had contracts with the Navy to train the Navy SEALs, and later on we had Army Delta units and Air Force units and so forth. And during that period of time, we weren't able to talk about any of that. We had non-disclosure agreements. But that was the start of the Rogers Shooting School, and we morphed into beginning to teach law enforcement and civilian population. And almost all of those major contracts that I had wound up by buying our target system and using that target system. And after a while, we were basically training their instructors. But that's how, in a brief 5-minute conversation, that's how the Rogers Shooting School got started.
Wow. Yeah, like I said, it's a pretty interesting story. And if you actually sign up for the Bill Rogers shooting course, you actually get a book in the mail. And if you read the book, I mean, it's a lot of great information that led me to ask question upon question once I got there. Now, can I go ahead and ask you, how were the standards for the pneumatic machine actually created?
You mean the test that we actually use right now? Well, once we went to being able to control the targets pneumatically, I ran into a couple of young fellows that were at that time just out of school, and they'd started Action Target, and they had developed a software program. And before that, I kept all of the drills written down in a notebook, and all of the targets that operated were analog. I'd actually have to take and set each one of the targets, the time up and the time down, and to run them. And so it was a real different procedure. And so what I did is I created at that time 9 tests that I could use to determine the skill of the shooters. And so I was always insisting that shooters be able to shoot with either hand, because a handgun is not the choice of weapons we'd normally choose. Under most circumstances, I'd almost always choose the shoulder weapon. But wherever a handgun actually proves itself to be very important and advantageous is usually in conditions when we're close to a target or close to a situation, and or we're in a position where we can't use both hands. We're driving a car, or we're crawling, or we're climbing, or we're injured. And under those circumstances, shoulder weapons don't work very well for us. A handgun turns out to work very well. So I insisted that we learn how to shoot with our right hand, left-handed. And so I incorporated those in the test. And then I took drills that I thought were meaningful that we tried to teach. So some of those drills are multiple targets where you've got more than one target and have to make a decision to shoot, and how to engage those targets quickly and try to engage the closest targets first and so forth. And so what that did is I wound up by creating 9 tests with 125 points in the test. And so that was in the late 1970s is when I accomplished that. And then once I was able to get software that I could actually take and run the test quickly and easily, then I began to run that test every day. At first, we did not run the test every day. Now we do. We run the test every day because it's so much easier for us to program it and set it up and run it. So we've been doing those same tests now for almost 40 years. And they've just become, in fact, almost everybody that has purchased one of our ranges, every agency, we provide them with those tests, and most of them use those tests as a discerning situation to determine the skill of their students.
Well, like I said, those tests are something crucial. They're fun, but very challenging. And man, that was my second time coming to your school, and I didn't meet my goal this time around. So I'm coming back again to meet the goal and possibly pass it again. So hopefully I'll breeze through the test this time around.
Well, you passed the test. You might not have got your intermediate or advanced score, but quite honestly, anybody that passes our test, which is 70 points, has truly accomplished something. I can tell you over the years of having the special forces units come through, and we teach special forces in other countries too, and we have about a 20%, I'd say, ratio of operators that have got lots of experience that do not pass the 70 points. So there's anybody that, in my mind, that can at the end of the week shoot 70 points out of 125 points, and you have to recognize that to shoot a point for us is what we're testing, what we call human response time. So you've got to engage and hit the target in human response time. These targets are not waiting for you; they're going to be gone. And so it's like baseball players can't get up and hit a home run every time they get up, and certainly shooters in our classes can't get up and shoot a perfect score. In fact, we've only had a few people over the history of the class. I think it's like 6 people now that have shot a possible 125 points out of 125, and that's after shooting it 6 times during the class. They get the chance to shoot it 6 times, and we've had multiple students come back and shoot it multiple times. And so don't feel bad about not shooting your intermediate score. There's a lot of people out there that would just be happy with passing the basic part of that, which is 70+ points.
Yeah. The way it went for me was I kind of knew what to expect coming into it the second time around. So I already knew the fast pacedness and everything. So I just had to get my rhythm back from what I remembered the first time I came, because it was actually 3-4 years ago the first time that I came. And then once I felt like my rhythm came back, then it was like I started slumping down, but then at the end of the week I started coming back up.
Yeah.
So but like I said, it's very challenging, and I recommend it for everybody, but I'm one who likes to challenge myself. But like I said, I'm coming back to get that next level that I said I was going to get, so I can get that second pin. All right, so now let me ask you this. What skill level do you recommend somebody who wants to attend your course to say, okay, this is the cutoff, or this is where they need to be?
Well, first of all, safety is our biggest concerns. So I need somebody that's got experience of working out of a holster. For our basic class, we'll take you if you've never shot before, because we're not going to emphasize drawing out of a holster until about the third day. And by that time, we've had a lot of chance to work with you, homework assignments at night, and lots of drills and so forth. But, most accidents that happen in a training experience, at least in my experience, have been either drawing or reholstering. That's where we get people in trouble, and they get in a hurry and they get under pressure and under stress. And so, first of all, I got to have somebody that, if they're going to take our advanced class, that I want them experienced in drawing and working out of a holster. So a lot, police officers are experienced. Most military people that have been in that, as long as they're recently been into that, have that experience. The IDPA and IPSC shooters have that same experience. But what we do run into is occasionally is somebody that's been into a different type of shooting sport, whether it's MSHA or free pistol or bullseye. And they're very experienced shooters, but they've really never ever worked out of a holster. And now it's a real concern for us, because we start off in advanced class the first hour. We're drawing out of a holster 1.5 seconds, engaging the target. So I need them to have the experience to be safe, to be able to work out of a holster, and at the same time, they certainly need to be able to take and reload. So they're working out of a magazine pouch, and that's just another skill that I need them to be able to work out of a reload situation in around 3 or 4 seconds. If they've got those skills, they typically have the shooting skills that are required. They can basically hit a target that's relatively close. What happens with our class, though, is immediately they're under the pressure to engage a target in 1/2 second. And as we go out in further distance, of course, we increase the time slightly. So I got people that are very experienced shooters that have worked out of holsters and so forth, that are just totally challenged by the first hour, and they're having a lot of difficulty. And that's the problem we see with most people that have been trained in the normal fashion, whether they're law enforcement or military. They may be experienced in working out of a holster and shooting, but they are not experienced in engaging targets that are exposed for only 1/2 second. And that's that in itself is a lot of pressure and stress. So we want people, we don't expect them to show up to be able to engage a moving head target in 1/2 second, but we do expect them to be able to draw safely out of a holster in like 1.5 seconds, and also to be able to reload a firearm in 3 or 4 seconds. Those are the skills that I need them to have before I can start teaching them what we teach.
Yeah. Like I said, overall, it's a great class. It's a great setup. And honestly, the way I describe it to people when I'm talking about it is, if you want to learn how to shoot fast and correctly, go to Bill Rogers Shooting School. I tell everybody that. If somebody wants to contact you, how can they reach out to you?
Well, the best way is just to go to our website, www.rogersshootingschool.com. Just rogersshootingschool.com, all run together. And they'll come up with several pages of information. I recommend that they read all of it, including the most frequently asked questions. And then if they have a personal question, if they just tap in where it says email us, it comes directly to me. And also, I do actually have on the website, I have a phone number listed. So if they need to contact me personally, they're certainly welcome to. It's easier to get a hold of me by email, because I'm usually on the range during the day and I don't answer my phone much. But they can certainly contact me by email, and I'll be happy to respond to them.
All right. So there you have it. Reach out to Mr. Bill Rogers if you're interested in taking this class. And here in the next few weeks, you're going to see a video that comes out with my experience there on the range. Anything else you like to put out there, Bill?
Well, Mike, I appreciate the chance to talk with you and enjoyed it.
Hey, I enjoyed it too. So like I said, be on the lookout. I'm coming back out to you at least 2 more times this year.
Looking forward to it.
That's it. All right. So once again, I'd like to thank Bill Rogers for coming on to the M-W Tactical Podcast. And be looking out for more videos and questions and everything else from other people who we talk to within the 2A community. Thanks again, Bill.
All right. Take care, Mike.
For those who are looking to contact me, visit m-wtactical.com, but make sure you go to our Instagram and Facebook and search for m-w tactical to find our page so you can follow us there. If you decide to give me a call at 803-250-1256 and I do not answer, please leave a voicemail or a text message, and I promise I will get back to you. Until next time, keep shooting, keep practicing, and have fun.